Hi there. Okay, my little Wi-Fi signal is saying connection is unstable. That's not awesome. So I'm going to hang out as long as the internet hangs out with me. Y'all bear with me. I don't think I'm going to be as a persistent as last night with the connecting and disconnecting. I think probably like third time's a charm. If it kicks me off a third time, I think I'll call it. Over the weekend, I'll need to shop for like an Ethernet cable adapter or something if it keeps giving me fits. But hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to hang out. Those of you who are here. Hey, Sandy Wandy. It's always good to see you. Hey, Warren. How are you? And hey, Mary, my sister from Blessed to Crochet. Thanks so much for y'all. Thanks so much for y'all for coming out. Oops. I'm just going to knock over a microphone while we chat here. This is the professional content you come here to see, right? Hey, Seventh, good to see you. Ahoy, ahoy. I love that you say ahoy. That makes me happy. Ahoy, ahoy there, matey. It makes me think of like looking across like the sea to like a small island with a telescope. It's funny. I like that. I was trying to figure out what your avatar was, Seventh, because it's really little on my screen, but it looks really cute. If I zoom in a little, it looks like a little dude. Oh, it's a little dude with a crown, with a little, like a little king. Oh, I love it. That's so cool. Hey again, Sandy. Land ho! Yeah, it's like so my little kiddo has been obsessed with Pete the cat lately. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of Pete the cat. He's a very there's a classic Pete the cat book. It's called I Love My White Shoes, and it's about this cat that has sneakers and he loves his white shoes, and then he steps in different things and it changes the colors of the shoes, but he still loves them. Like he steps in blueberries and they're blue shoes, and then he steps in raspberries and they're red shoes, and that was the first book. And he then they came out with a lot of other like different children's books with the Pete the cat character, and they're just like there's a whole bunch of them now. None of them are quite the same as that first book by the original author, but Pete the Cat is everywhere. But they have a whole book that's Pete the Cat and the Treasure Map, where Pete the Cat is a pirate and his friends, the other cats, are pirates. And the whole thing is about them like finding an island with buried treasure and stuff like that. The king avatar is a joke between Brazy and you. Oh, that's cool. Inside jokes are fun. They're always kind of nice. I have got my caffeinated cherry cola sparkling water, you guys. It's one of my attempts to like those 0 calorie type things that are like soda but not soda, like soda replacements. Have you guys ever tried any of these before? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Are you indifferent? I would love to hear thoughts and opinions. So let's see. I'm going to share this on, usually I share it on the Facebook and usually share it on the Discord too. I can't remember if I shared it on the Discord. I did love the maple bacon coffee for real. It was delicious. I made a video this morning that involved me tasting it for the first time. That maple bacon coffee was it was amazing. And I like to drink like my first coffee in the morning, I like to drink it black without any creamer in it. So you can like really taste if the coffee is good or not if you're not filling it with like flavored creamer or something. It's really good. Like it's really smooth. It's not bitter or anything like that. It's awesome. I think I'm probably going to have to start ordering from them, and I'm going to have to use Mary's discount code. She has a discount code on her site, so I'm going to have to check that out. I think I'm hooked. I think I'm hooked on the maple bacon coffee. Okay. Oh my gosh. Really? She's helping me avoid unwanted sexual attention. I won't mention names, but someone sent me soft. Oh wow. Oh wow. That's awkward. That's awkward. Well, I'm glad that she's helping you avoid that unwanted attention. That's never good. I feel like the polite thing to do, like adults will send each other photos like this from time to time, right? But I feel like the appropriate thing to do is like to kind of suss out like, does that person want those? Like that shouldn't be something you just like somebody should ask first if you're interested in that, I would think, and not just like hit you out of left field without warning you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're dealing with that, 7th. That's very awkward and uncomfortable. I'm glad Brazy's got your back. Sounds like she's a good friend. That's awesome. Rolling Stone, good to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. I'm so glad y'all are here. I know it's Friday night. Maybe people go do things on Friday nights or they're tired, they want to go to bed early or something. Hey, can't think of a better name. It's good to see you. I actually love your name. Can't think of a better name. I don't know. It's it's elegant. It's just awesome. I love it. I kind of wish I'd thought of it actually. I can't remember when I made my like I've had my YouTube display name as Kristen Melinda for as long as I can remember before it really mattered, like before there were like lives to chat on and stuff like that, and before I ever commented on anything, my name on YouTube was just Kristen Melinda, and that's because I had it that way everywhere. Hey, it's Carol from Needing a Meeting. Hi, Carol. Carol says, "Hey, night owls, good to see you. Thanks for reaching out to me earlier. That was very encouraging. I appreciate the encouragement and the congratulations. It feels funny to like in some ways, like people don't usually congratulate you for like leaving a job. People usually congratulate you for getting a job. Um, I did get a job also. I do have a new one. Just I mean, it sometimes the right thing to do is just to jump ship on a job even if you don't have another one lined up depending on what's going on, but I do have a new one lined up and I did have that figured out before I put in my notice. Not you can't always do that. Not everybody can do that all the time, but I managed to do that. So that feels good. Hey, Sophia, good to see you. Maktamir. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for coming to hang out. Yes, Warren. I start the new job on Monday. I didn't give myself a whole lot of wiggle room, but that's kind of by design because if I have too much downtime between things, I get in my head about it and I get antsy and not in a good way. So just the weekend is good for me. Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad we're keeping you company on your drive home. Can't think of a better name. Um, but be safe. Don't worry about hitting the chat and the texts too much. I want you to drive safe, okay? I want you to get home safely. But I'm glad we're keeping you company. I saw that. I got the notification that Carol was doing a test stream and I saw it. Like I didn't see it until I was like walking back down the hallway to like log back on and do my live stream. So I have your lighting test on replay, Carol. I like seeing the new things that you're doing with like your backgrounds and your lighting and different things like that. It's been really fun. Hey, thanks for saying that, Rolling Stone. Some of them have told me they were bummed. They've told me they were sad. Like, I think my immediate team, like the people that I worked with day to day, like on a regular basis, I think they are genuinely kind of bummed out. Like, I believe them when they tell me I don't think they're making things up. Um, the system, though, like as a whole, it's gonna forget me in 5 minutes, like and I'm not taking that personally. That's just the nature of a giant corporate system, you know? Like, there's individual people that I worked with for a long time that they won't forget me and they'll stay in touch with me, and I developed, really good relationships with them, but, like, the system as a whole, you know, it will it's, it will forget me, but that's okay. That's kinda how it should be, I guess. Yes, we did. Mary and I had a good talk last night about like balancing things, like balancing self-care with the new job and childcare and making time for my husband and just all the everything. And that brings me to something that I'll mention in a second. Oh, it's a different webcam, Carol? Oh, that's exciting. I wonder if the picture looks very different. I'll have to take I'm excited to see. I know that I have an external webcam, like, hooked up to my Chromebook, and this one's a lot clearer than the one that came with the Chromebook. Like, when I first started doing this, I just used the camera that is built in, and it's a lot fuzzier, a lot grainier. It doesn't pull in light as well. They did seem to understand. I had one person that, like, seemed to really take it kind of on the chin, like, not quite take it personally, but she was really she had a hard time with it, but, sometimes, like, different people handle things differently. Like, we talked, and I think when she realized, like, "Hey, this wasn't about you guys, this was about not feeling like this was the right fit for me," then I I think that, you know, she understood. It was a better we didn't end on a weird note, we ended on a good note, and we have each other's phone numbers and contact information, so, if any of them ever get tired of working for a health insurance company, maybe they can drop me a line and come work in private practice with me at some point. I have not seen this movie, Warren. I want to because it looks fun and kinda silly. So, I can't speak to the mom's therapy career in Freaky Friday because I haven't seen the movie. Generally speaking, when I see therapists in movies or TV shows, it's annoying because usually they're really inaccurate or, like, they do a bunch of things that would violate their ethics boards. So, usually in popular culture, therapist depictions annoy me, but not always. Sometimes they're done really well. It just depends, but I'll check that one out. That looks like a fun one to watch this weekend, actually. Yeah, so I'm not saying I don't want it to come off like it's bad to work for a corporation necessarily. Like, that might be the best thing for somebody, it might be the right thing for somebody. They can provide stability, sometimes they provide better benefits and things like that, and sometimes that's really what you need. Like, when I first took the job, that was what I needed. That I needed stability, and I needed good pay, and I needed good benefits because I was pregnant at the time. So, it was kinda like that was the thing. I mean, I was looking for other jobs at the same time, but different corporations do different things, right? And they profit off of different things, and health insurance is a whole different type of corporation, and it profits in a whole different way than a lot of corporations do, or even than, like, other kinds of insurance do, and it's truly not what I went to school for. Like, if you think about it, like, I went to grad school and got a license to learn to be a counselor, to learn to be a therapist. Working for a health insurance company, yeah, it's truly not what I trained to do. Like, it's something that someone with a license can do, but it was never in my dream when I when I wanted to go to graduate school to someday work for a health insurance company. And that's not to knock people, that's not to talk down to anybody, um, but it wasn't right for me anymore, and there's lots of reasons for that. Hey, some more people came in. Hey, cool, cool, cool. Nifty, nifty. Oh, no. I'm glad that you got the falcon hood, Mary. I hope that it helped a little bit. Sorry, we got a migraine. That stinks. Hey, Miss Dragon, good to see you. Oh, the new camera is good? It's been pretty good? Would have been grainy on yeah, the Chromebook cams, they get the job done, but they're pretty grainy. That's funny you should say this 7th. Kristen, call back in a month. They will beg you to come back. So the last person I spoke to I had a few phone calls with people today that was basically all about just, like, the goodbye phone call. The, like, "Why are you leaving? Where are you going? How did this happen?" kind of a thing. I had a few calls like that today, and one of them was with someone who had been my manager for, like, 5 years before she moved to a different department, and, the end of the conversation with her was basically like, "Well, if it's not all it's cracked up to be, and you ever wanna come back and work with my team, just let me know." Um, so that was kind of flattering, but also, like, Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. Not anytime soon. I don't know, and I don't even know if I don't think anytime ever, really. I mean, I don't know who or what I will be in 10 years, but probably not wanting to work for a health insurance company again. Probably not, for lots of different reasons. Hey, thanks, 7th. Thanks for saying the YouTuber things for me. Hit the like button if you're enjoying hanging out here. Hey, Anik, Alexander, good to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. It's always good to see you. Thanks for being here. Ha! Haven't you heard? Corporations are people. I always thought that was really funny when that first came out because, like, I mean, they're collections of people. They're made up of people, but, like, the corporation itself is not a people. I always thought that was kind of funny. Warren says, assuming you've seen the trailer to Freaky Friday and know the basic premise, you can imagine what happens if a teenage brain is thrown into a professional adult therapy job. Okay, is that what it is? Like they switch bodies. The mom is a therapist, and then she switched bodies with her teenage daughter. Okay, yeah, I could see how that could go. I'm guessing she probably just like was super blunt with patients and not in a helpful way. That's what I'm guessing happened. And I guess, yeah, then if they switch bodies, then yeah, of course she's gonna not necessarily be a great therapist and, like, break ethics codes because she doesn't know what she's doing. So, mocked, it pays alright money, and that's alright to do if you need it at the time. Yeah, it was, like, I was kinda reeling from a lot of things when I first took my job with the health insurance company. Like, I just had a very early miscarriage, like, it was really hard on both of us, and, I had also just left another job that was kinda had become kinda toxic. Like, I worked in a community mental health care agency, which I loved that work. That work is all, like, working with folks that have no health insurance pretty much. It's working with people that really, really, really need it, and I really loved that job. It pays squat though. Like, those jobs pay less than working at Target, just to be real about it, but I loved that work, and I would have stayed probably. I would have stuck it out even with the low pay, but they hired a really, really toxic program admin who was just terrible, and I couldn't do it anymore. I had to get out. So I was just looking for something that was stable, and it was kind of nice to be able to, like, in a corporate setting like that, in a huge corporation, like this is like a national corporation. It owns like it owns most of the state Medicaid and a lot of Medicare plans in the country. I think it's in most states, the big umbrella. I worked for the part that was specific to Texas, but the corporation itself is huge. And when you're in a huge system like that, there's a lot of processes in place. And there's a lot of like you show up and it's like, go this, go there, do this, do that. And you don't have to think that much. And coming out of, like, a really crappy situation with a really crappy boss and also coming out of, like, a personal tragedy too, it was kind of a relief for a while to not have to, to be able to just, like, be told, like, what to do and where to go and get paid for it, but it was not long term a good fit for me. Hey, Mr. Bradboy, good to see you. Thanks for coming to visit. I just left one job and I'm starting a new one on Monday. That's how I'm doing. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Oh, really? Warren says both my parents recently retired. For my mom in particular, they'll be wanting her back at the end of the summer. She worked at a community college coordinating the dual credit program. That's really cool. I did dual credit through my local community college. I did when I was a senior in high school, I did history dual credit. It was a really cool program. I that's really cool that they offer that. That sounds like a cool job. But yeah, when you retire sometimes the place doesn't love that you're gone. They want you back. Hey, Jesse Miller, unboxings and more. Good to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. Thanks for sharing our friends' channels, Mary. There's Needing a Meeting. There's Jesse at Jesse Miller Unboxings and More. I do. I do, Warren. I like when therapists are blunt. That's not I mean, there's a way to do that therapeutically though. Like, you kinda have to first of all, you kind of have to establish a rapport. You kinda have to establish trust with your client first, and you have to make sure that they're okay with that approach too. Um, there's kind of a there like with any new person you interact with, there's like a getting to know you period with a therapist too, right? Um, when I first met the therapist that I work with, because therapists have therapists and they should, um, I she kinda, like, in the first session, like, she asked me all her questions to see, like, what my concerns were, what I wanted to work on, things like that. And then towards the end, like, the last 5 minutes, she kinda described, "Well, here's my style, like, here's kinda how I work. Um, if this" she told me, like, "I'm pretty blunt, like, I'm not rude, but I'm pretty blunt about things, and I'm not easily shocked by things. If that sounds like something that jives with you, like, great, awesome. If it sounds like it's not so much your style, there's some people I can refer you to that maybe have a little bit of a different approach." Um, so, like, all therapists get I won't say all, but most therapists get the same kinda sort of basic level of training, but then just like different people have different personalities, therapists have different approaches too. So to even accept all those cool therapeutic techniques a therapist learns, like cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever, you kind of have to feel comfortable with them first. And not everybody's going to feel comfortable with a really blunt person. So I do like therapists that are blunt, but there's caveats to it. They won't work for everybody. Not for everybody. Mist says, "My brake job. What? My back brakes were metal to metal. Oh no. Next time I'll need new rotors. Oh no, that sucks. I'm so sorry. That's so expensive." But I'm glad that you didn't like have to stop suddenly and not be able to. Like I'm glad you found out about that. It's probably safer to have those brakes, in better shape. I'm sorry though, that sucks. I'm sure that's very expensive and quite a hassle. Aw, thanks for stopping by, Mr. Bradboy, and thanks for the congratulations. I appreciate that very much. Thanks, Jesse. It's official now. So I kind of have struggled with like feeling like people are going to think I'm crazy because it was a 100% remote job, but to be fair, I didn't control my schedule. I had to be logged on at certain times. A lot of the time I was kind of expected to, be there weekends and evenings to wrap up things that just didn't get done. And you're kind of on call for your team if you're a manager too. But since it was 100% remote and they provide equipment, it was kind of weird because like I just logged out today and I felt like I feel like I'm still there. Like I don't because it's not like you're in a building and you like turn in your ID and walk out. Like you don't have that like closure. But then, like, later I went to, like, check my computer for something, my work computer, and when I went to try to log in, it said, "This user account has expired." And I was like, "Oh, okay, now it's real." Now it's real. So this is a good point. Laughter is such an important part of a relationship. Oh, I saw that came from Carol needing a meeting. Uh, her husband I guess your husband popped onto your lighting test with you. That's awesome. You can keep a relationship going on laughter, right? It makes a big difference. When a lot of other things are messed up, if you can make each other laugh, that helps a lot. Warren says a great theme song for my mom, and I'm sure for many of you, is Surface Pressure from Encanto. Oh, I loved that movie. I need to watch that again. My son didn't sit still through much of it, but you could tell he was paying attention. You could tell that he was engaged in it. Cool, cool. Mr. Bad Boy says, "I'm sitting here just now chilling with you. I have to say, Colossicon was the most fun. Being Lord Raiden from Mortal Kombat, I began to get into character." That sounds really fun. Hey, like, I loved the movie Mortal Kombat, like, when it first came out as a kid. I loved that. I know it's not, like, serious cinema or whatever, and it's not, like, gonna win any Oscars or anything, but it was so much fun. And when that game first came out on Sega Genesis, my little brother and I, we would, like, battle it out on that game all the time, and we'd get into huge fights about it, but it was so much fun. And they had really cool costumes. So, yeah, for those of y'all who don't know, Mr. Bradboy does, like, cosplay type stuff. It's really, really fun. Mr. Bradboy, you might wanna connect with, Mary from Blessed to Crochet. Her daughter has a YouTube channel that's like cosplay. If you Mary, if you want to, if you feel comfortable dropping her channel in the chat. Um, so that's pretty cool. I've always loved the idea of like cosplay from characters from like video games and movies and stuff like that. I've always wished I had the talent to like create a costume like that and the patience. I love the idea. I just don't quite have that skill set, or at least if I do, I have not developed that skill set yet, but I think it's really cool. Yes. Not being able to log on was a great way to feel it, like, it did make it kinda real for me. Yeah, if any of y'all caught the live we did last night, that was my first one, like, first one back from being at the lake, and my intern and first of all, I got to open my first Happy Mail that I got from Mary, which was really, really fun. I really, really enjoyed doing that. She sent me all this really cool, fun stuff. If you didn't see it, I've got this cool little, like, crochet wand now. Um, I got a cupcake to celebrate birthdays with. Like, she hooked it up. Like, she sent me all kinds of fun stuff. So I opened that on stream. But then my internet didn't wanna play. Like, it disconnected and reconnected like 10 times at least. But Mary was on stream with me, so, like, she just kept talking when it disconnected. And so I'm glad she was there with me because it would have been just dead air a lot of the time, and no one likes to hang out for that. That's boring. Yeah, so yeah, from being able to separate being at home and feeling like being at work. Yeah, that was difficult too, especially, like, during the school year, it wasn't as weird exactly, because my husband was a teacher and he would be at school working, and then my son would be either at daycare or school. So it would be pretty quiet and I'd be able to kind of focus, except that being home, like, whenever I took a break, like a lunch break or whatever, I would just see all the things around the house that needed doing, and I wouldn't take breaks. I would just, like, do laundry or do dishes, and it was difficult for me to, like, make a point of, like, disengaging and, like, re recharging, you know? And, I would say that the job I did, like, working in utilization management, it's difficult to explain if you've never done a job like that. Utilization management is basically the people that, like, it's basically one step in this whole big drawn out process for things being approved or denied. It's just one small part of that whole meat grinder of a machine. But it requires a lot of analytical thought. Like, you're receiving these requests from, like, doctors and therapists and seeing things like that saying, "Hey, can I start billing this for this patient?" And you're supposed to review so many of those a day, and you have to review so many of them a day that it's kind of hard to give them each very individual attention, and you have to look for very specific things and all the notes, and so it requires a lot of your analytical brain, but not the same kind of analytical you do if you're a therapist, which involves more listening to people and hearing what their patterns are and helping them kind of see what's getting them stuck and what might help them move forward in a direction they want to move forward to. Um, it takes a different skill set, I guess. Oh, that's fun, Mr. Bradboy. I felt like I won an Oscar every 10 minutes. I was getting asked for photos and compliments. I felt like Peter Parker from Spider-Man. That sounds like a blast. That sounds like so much fun. Oh no, we all look weird. Rolling Stone says my laptop just updated and now everything looks weird. Ugh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Are you sure it's the laptop? Are you sure it's not just me? Sometimes I do make weird faces. It might just be me, you know? Oh, okay, you bought the Raiden suit? Well, it looked awesome. I mean, no shade there. It looked awesome. It worked for you. Yay, and there's Mary's daughter's channel. She does cosplay as well, so check that out if that's an interest y'all have. I think it's really, really cool. The Mortal Kombat theme song, yes. Oh, yeah, it is good for aerobic boxing class because it's very upbeat. Sorry, sorry. I'll stop. Okay, okay. I'm done. It's part of the assessment process, if I understood that correctly. I may be missing the first part of that chat, but it sounds like you're talking more about therapy and the initial assessment process before you start therapy. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's interesting you bring that up though. So I'm going to be working as like a salaried therapist in my friend's private practice who I've known since my earliest days, like right out of grad school. I worked with her at the first community clinic I ever worked at. She was my team lead there. She and I have known each other a long time. I trust her. She grew her private practice from like half an office to like 3 locations. She really knows what she's doing, and she's a great therapist and she's a good clinician. And she provides a lot of benefits for therapists that work for her too. So it's probably the best situation I could find for myself, like getting right back into it after being a long time out of it. Because working with her, I get to focus on just being a therapist for a while before I try to learn all the business side of it too. I mean, it's a long-term goal of mine to kind of open my own and maybe, and develop some kind of nonprofit part of it. But I've got to get back into like, the therapist part of it first before I learn all the business stuff. I got to walk before I can run. Hey, you're not late, Janet G. You're here. I'm happy you're here whenever you are here. I'm just happy to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. Wally, good to see you. Haven't played Mortal Kombat in decades. Damn good game. It was so much fun, wasn't it? I I have a soft spot in my heart for, like, the original old school on the Sega Genesis when you have, like, what, like, 8 characters you could play, and as a young girl, I always wanted to play the female character. The only female character at the time was Sonya Blade, but she was a badass. I loved her. She was so cool. But it was fun to play the other ones, like Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Scorpion would do the thing, "Get over here." Sorry, you guys, if you didn't if I'm boring y'all who didn't play this game, but it was a blast. I really enjoyed that game. Oh, it's the colors that changed when you updated. They're black and yellow for some reason. Oh, like Bumblebee. But I'm very tired. Good night, everyone. Take care. I wish you all a peaceful weekend. You as well, Rolling Stone. Thanks for coming to hang out. Sleep well. Thanks for visiting. Thank you, Rolling Stone. It's good to see you. I hope your laptop rights itself and it's not so nuts. Sure, sure. Jesse Miller says that makes sense to me, but I have some experience in medical and insurance jobs plus my own insurance approvals. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you ever wanted to talk about it more in depth, we can. You probably, yeah. So the term utilization management probably doesn't like I would say that to sometimes people would ask me what I did, like at I don't know, gatherings or something, and I said, "Oh, I'm a utilization manager," and they'd look like, "What? What the heck is that?" So maybe you wouldn't make that face. I I had one person once actually who knew exactly what it was. I saw her like at a get together, like friends of friends kind of thing. I hadn't seen her in years. And she worked for like a doctor, and her job was to be the person that got approvals from the insurance company. So she would deal with people like me who would tell you why something couldn't be approved. So when I saw her, I was like, "Oh yeah, I work in utilization management." And she kind of did this, "Oh, I know what you do." Yeah, you'd have to know her though. Like she didn't mean it personally. She was like, "Yeah, we hate you guys." It was funny though. It was funny. Yes, my prior job, the insurance job, part of the assessment process. Yeah, yeah, for getting something approved. Okay, I think I see what you're saying. Sega Genesis for the win, right? There's something kinda nostalgic about that. Make it quite that they don't make it quite that way anymore. They came out with a later Mortal Kombat that had, like, more female characters you could play, but Sonya Blade was awesome. She was cool. Janet G, I never got into video games. Must be because we never had them when I was a kid. Um, I mean, I got into them up to a point. Like, I played with them with my little brother. My little brother's only a year and a half younger than me. So we would, be at each other's throats, but we'd also be each other's best buddies and best allies. And one of the ways that we were at each other's throats was through video games. So, and I don't know, it kept us busy, I think. So my mom could occasionally get some laundry done or something as well. I didn't really like gaming is not something I really like held on to. Like I don't really do it now. I don't really play video games now. Or if I do, it's like nostalgic video games. Like I'll play Super Mario Brothers 3 or something like that. But I didn't it's not something I held on to. It's not something I continued doing. It's kind of like something I did like, with my brother when we were kids. So it's nostalgic for me. Oh, cool. Mocked says my stuffed dragon went to Comic-Con one year and he was one of the characters from One Piece. I just made the costume and my geek niche is Ents and Dwarves. He went with someone else. Oh, I love that. Hmm. Ents? Really? Ents are so cool. What was it? Now I want to rewatch Lord of the Rings. The Ents are so I like how they talk really, really slow. Yeah, the one person who knows what I do. Utilization management. In different companies, though, they call it a little bit different. Like, if I had gotten that same job at, like, a different company, like, maybe at Blue Cross or something, they would have called it, like, care coordination or utilization review clinician or something like that. Like, some companies call it something different. Um, but ultimately you're like a mid-level licensed person, like in behavioral health, sometimes they'll hire people like me, like LPCs, and then in physical health, they'll hire like RNs to like do the first review. And then if it like passes everything, you send a little notification of authorization letter. Yeah, it's good to go. But if it doesn't, if it's like, oh, it doesn't meet all these set points we have to have it meet, then you send it on to an MD and they look at it and there's a whole dance that has to happen before you can deny something or approve something. There's a whole dance that happens. Yeah, video games are nostalgic for me too. Wally says, "Haven't been near them since I was around 18 or 19." Oh, wow. Wow. We have like oh, you remember Mortal Kombat as an arcade game? I do too, actually. We mostly played it at home, but I remember it as an arcade game as well. That was fun too. You know what though? For my money, like my favorite arcade game of all time was Miss Pac-Man. Like I got exposed to a lot of other video games, a lot of other really fancy ones with amazing graphics and all that stuff, but I loved Miss Pac-Man. That was my favorite. Like if I found an arcade that had Miss Pac-Man, like I was gone. Like, I would go to the CiCi's, which is, like I don't know if y'all have them everywhere, but it's like a pizza place. It's a pizza buffet, but they had, like, a little mini arcade, and they had Miss Pac-Man. My When I was a kid, my children's dentist had a little, like, Miss Pac-Man, like, cocktail table version of the arcade game, and I continued going to that children's dentist long after probably I needed to, like, way after I turned 18. Mostly because I wanted to play Miss Pac-Man in the waiting room. It got to where I was old enough that I showed up for my appointment one day and they said, "Oh, who's your child?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess I gotta find an adult dentist now. Bummer." Oh, you used to do video game tournaments, Mr. Bradboy? My older brother used to did do that as well, like, around that Dallas area. I used to be in tournaments as a kid with Super Nintendo Killer Instinct, just like Mortal Kombat. I'm really good at it, but nowadays I'm busy, so I'll play when I can. Gotcha, gotcha. Oh man, I haven't watched this show in ages. Warren has a question for American Idol viewers. In the entire history of the show, has there been one contestant from Simon or who got a yes from Simon and a no from all the other judges? Not that I'm aware of, but I only like saw like the first few seasons. So I don't know. Not that I recall. Yeah, if so, I would want to see that clip too cuz usually yeah. Usually he dislikes he was supposed to be the like the hard ass, right? He was supposed to dislike people even when the others were like, "Oh, you're lovely." He would be like, "It's a no for me." Like he was the more particular one. So it would be weird to see that happen. Galaga, that's a classic. I love it. I love it. Miss Pac-Man was your mom's favorite too? Miss Pac-Man's awesome. I mean, Pac-Man, like original Pac-Man is great too. Like it's just slap a hair bow, you know. They're both great. Can't go wrong with Pac-Man. It was strangely, I don't know, like I would get started on that game and it would be difficult to stop. Like I would just keep feeding that machine quarters until I ran out. Those are so much fun. I did like download a version like for a tablet, but it's not quite I don't know, it just feels different not having the joystick, you know? It's just different. It's just different. Are you responding to Warren's thing about American Idol singing should be about fun? I tend to agree. I tend to agree. I have so some of y'all know I post karaoke videos sometimes. That's something I like to do for fun. I can't get out into the world and I can't go out to a bar and do karaoke. So since I can't do that, I do it here, and it's for fun. And that's exactly what it is, and it's also kind of like a healing thing for me too, because I used to sing a lot in the car, and I had a kinda toxic relationship, and the guy was, like, really down on me for singing, and he was like, "You need to calm down," and it messed with my head, and so that's part of it too, is kind of, like, healing from that, like, "No, I can sing. If you don't wanna hear, you don't have to listen," you know? You can leave or turn it off. That's right, Warren's getting ready to move. That's exciting. The town I'm moving out of, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, has a place called Reboot Social with a bunch of old arcade games, including Burger Time. That sounds kind of fun. That sounds cool. We have a place like that near us, except it's like I think they have like newer stuff. It's called Nerdvana, and like they have like, basic food you can order, but they also have like different like you can sit up at a table and play different video games and stuff like that. Is this about American Idol? If it was a dog act. Has never had a dog act. Is there a dog that sang on American Idol? 20 bucks in quarters. That is a lot of quarters for Miss Pac-Man, but Miss Pac-Man's really fun. So I can't say I blame your mom. Like Miss Pac-Man was really fun. The joystick at the arcades was a nice change of pace for a childhood me. Yeah, yeah. I don't know, like it just felt different than like trying to use the little, I don't know, your thumbs on the controllers. It's just different. I could throw down at some Pong too. I enjoyed Pong. Pong was fun. It's so simple. It's just two lines and a little dot. But Pong is fun. Pong is fun as heck. Sometimes it doesn't need to be that fancy to be fun. Pitfall. I don't think I know Pitfall. I don't think I know that game. Jesse says, "I remember Pitfall wasn't great at it. The gators kept getting me." Yeah. Hey, Michael's Adventures. Good to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, thanks, Carol. Hi, Dawn. Good to see you. I have your recent live from today in my watch later. There was something like, I think I was doing childcare or making dinner or something like that. Something like that. But it's in my watch later queue. Yeah, there was a little more to it than that, Wally. He didn't just get mad at me for singing. It was just kinda like he was one of those people that, like, he made me feel like I was too much, you know? Um, and I don't know if he meant it that way, but I mean, I guess I was too much for him, which is fine. He can go find less. It was a long time ago, though, but it did kinda mess with my self-esteem a little bit. It affected me. I'm glad that you found it, Warren. I'm glad that you found my channel because you've like brought up some interesting points and asked some good questions. And I don't know that I ever would have been able to like meet and interact with a mathematics professor otherwise. So I'm really glad you found it. You need to calm down the Taylor Swift song. I've considered doing karaoke to a Taylor Swift song, but she has like I don't know, her voice is it's a different quality than mine. Like, I enjoy singing her stuff, but I don't know that it's a good fit. But I might try one just for the heck of it. I might try. Yeah, for Warren, are you looking forward to the move? Will it be a start to a new position? Thanks for sharing Dawn's page. Thanks for sharing Michael's page. Yeah, yeah, the restaurant is called Nerdvana, Warren. It's kinda funny. Actually, I think it's owned by the people that own Gearbox because we live near like, if y'all know the video game company Gearbox, we live near the corporate headquarters for Gearbox. Actually, our old roommate, he's no longer our roommate, but our old roommate used to work there in quality assurance, which was like play testing. They would play test and they would look for bugs in the games the whole time. But, um, so he worked there. He worked for Gearbox for a while. Like, in fact, I can't remember which one it is, but on one of the Borderlands games, if you watch the end credits, there's a thank you to me and my husband in there because he lived with us during the time they were working on it. Just a little weird. Oh, and I also have as a gift from him, I have a Borderlands gaming mouse, Borderlands 2. He got this when he was working on it in QA. And one day I was complaining about my carpal tunnel, and he said, "Well, I think you just need a good gaming mouse. Here, I've got an extra. Take this one." And so this mouse has followed me like through multiple jobs. I've hooked it up to all my computers because it's more ergonomic and more comfortable than whatever the job sets me up with. I think this is I think this is like the second or third job that I've used this mouse for. Heck yeah, Pong was the bomb. And Mortal Kombat Connection, there was I can't remember which version of Mortal Kombat it was, but if you played it and you like there were certain like not cheat codes exactly, but if you did a fatality a certain way, it would give you like a little reward kind of thing. And one of the little rewards it would bring up was like it would have you play Pong with your opponent. I thought that was I can't remember which one it was, but it's a weird little Easter egg. Like, probably you could find it, like, if you Google, like, Mortal Kombat Pong, like, fatality, something like that. You could probably find that. Star Castle, I don't recognize it off the top of my head. It's probably one of those games that if I saw it, I would recognize it. Oh, no. I hope everyone's okay, Michael. Michael's Adventure says, I had to come home a different way. Big wreck this morning, and they are still cleaning it up. I'm glad that you were not involved in the wreck. I hope everybody is okay. That's always getting stuck in traffic is always a pain and also, kind of scary if it's a result of a big wreck. So I'm glad you were at home safely. Sorry it took longer than usual for you. That's never fun. Northwest Arkansas will be Warren's new home. That's exciting. It's exciting. Um, I think Arkansas is cool. I've been there a couple times. I enjoyed it. Yes. Yes, mocked. He is an ex for good reason. There are lots of good reasons, actually. That's only one of them. That's just one of them. Super competitive in Pong, says Mr. Brown Boy. I was playing Jenga last night. Oh man, I haven't played Jenga in forever. Oh, I miss Jenga. When I used to work with so when I worked in the clinic, I worked with kids a lot. Um, and one of the like icebreaker games I would play was like therapeutic Jenga. It's like you have and you but you can like do a version for just like getting to know people at parties too. Basically, it's regular Jenga, but like you write on the blocks like a question or like if you want to do it like therapeutic style, you could like write different emotions on them and like have a person describe when they felt that emotion or something like that. Or if you want to make it a get to know you party game, you can put little getting to know you questions on them, and then whatever block you pull out, you answer the question. But Jenga is fun by itself. Can't think of a better name. Says, "Yay, made it home. Good. I'm so glad you made it home safely. Thank you for letting us know. I appreciate that. I behaved and didn't look at my phone while driving. Good for you. I'm proud of you. Now, if someone wants to carry me upstairs, that'd be great." We would if we could. Absolutely. I would if I could. I promise you I would. Awesome. Mary's got a lot of crochet work to do. Mary crocheted this cupcake, you guys. So if it's a birthday on stream, I can celebrate with a cupcake. So Mary makes cool stuff. Mary makes super cool stuff. No. And she made a wall hanging too. I have that back there. I'm still trying to figure out what wall to put it on because I want it to be visible. But my wall is actually kind of far behind me. Like I'm in a corner of the room. So Warren says, an interesting metaphor. You mention how therapists should have therapists. I assume this has become some traits and habits are easier to see from the outside and harder to see in oneself. Absolutely, for sure. Um, yeah, most definitely. It's very difficult to be completely objective about yourself, right? It's just hard. And another thing is that if you are actively working as a therapist, you're spending a lot of time like hearing other people's stories and taking on other people's difficulties, their trauma, all their heavy, heavy, heavy stuff. And so it to keep from burning out, it becomes really important to do something to take care of yourself too. And sometimes that does mean like processing with a therapist of your own, or at least doing some kind of like case consultation with somebody. Oh, thanks, Dawn. I'm glad to hear that. That means a lot to me. Thank you for sharing that. Ha! I love that 7th. That's awesome. I'll take it. I'll take it. Thanks, Carol. I appreciate that. Oh, the second part. Warren says there's a card game called Hanabi where you see other people's cards but not your own. It's cooperative and you have a limited supply of clues to inform teammates about what they have. You know what? That's like a beautiful metaphor for I think honestly, I think that could be a beautiful metaphor for peer support actually. Like or just having friends that you trust as well. Like it's difficult to see ourselves clearly a lot of the time and like I don't know, like 5 or 6 months ago, I did not see myself as capable at all. Like I I was really down on myself. Like honestly, like my self-esteem was in the gutter. Like I didn't see myself as capable of leaving my corporate job to go back to being a therapist. Um it took connecting with other people to kind of see myself through other people's eyes to kind of like realize like, oh, like I do have some strengths. Like I have weaknesses too. Everybody does, but like, oh, there are some things I'm good at, and I wasn't seeing myself clearly. And I think a lot of us are like that to some degree. Like our identity sort of forms within a community we're a part of, right? Like we kind of have to like prop each other up in that way. I think that's why it's important to have a community you trust or a group of friends you trust or something like that. Don Aaron says, is there a goal you're trying to reach, Kristen? For my YouTube channel? You know, I'm reconsidering that because I love doing YouTube and I love using it as a way to kind of share my experience and also connect with people and like make a safe space for other people to connect with each other. I love using it for those things. I love using it for self-expression. That's really fun too. Um, if it like I'd love for it to grow to be something like that like I can use to do good. And I've been thinking about like if I want to like focus it more because right now it's kind of a little bit of everything. Like it's my karaoke and it's my talking about therapy and it's kind of more of a vlog than anything and a way for me to hang out, sort of on live streams with people. Um if I like focus it in on something, it will probably be, probably on therapeutic principles and trying to make therapeutic ideas more accessible to people because let's face it, therapy is expensive and sometimes it's hard to find a therapist that you like, that you trust, that's good. And even if you find therapists that aren't going to charge you an arm and a leg that, can do sliding scale or your insurance covers it or whatever, the one that your insurance pays for, you might not get along with. And there's a huge shortage of mental health care providers in the United States right now. So I think for me, like, I need to I mean, I'd like to get up to the 500 subscribers. I think that would be pretty cool. But I think for me, I want to like focus it on, sharing that message, like making therapeutic principles more accessible and kind of bringing home how important peer support and connection is. I feel very strongly, like based on my experience in the last 6 months, that therapy and peer support, they work together. Like I feel like one does not work as well without the other or work at all without the other. Like I know for me, like I went through a lot of my own therapists and had varying degrees of success, but I never made the kind of progress that I have made in the last 6 months since I've had access to, like, peer support and friendships and community, like, through the Lifeboat and Needing a Meeting and Blessed to Crochet and other channels like that. Um, so to answer I don't really have a great answer there. I'd like it to grow, but, my main goal is for it to, spread those messages. So I guess growing is a good I'll have to reconsider what that looks like and what I think that means. Long-winded answer, I'm sorry. I have a bad habit of doing long-winded answers, you guys. I'm gonna have to work on getting concise. Warren Shull or Janet G says, "Warren Shull in the writing editing world, it's recognized that writers always benefit from another set of eyes." Right? Exactly. We get too close to our own writing and benefit from the perspective of others. Yeah, exactly. I think that's true of all kinds of things. I think that's true of self-development as well. I would imagine it's the same in math and in mental health therapy. My husband is a radiologist and frequently asks colleagues for a second opinion. I think that's a great explanation of it. That's a great description. And I agree 100% for sure. Pong. Anik says, for some reason, Pong makes me think of the song Life's Been Good by Joe Wash on the album where he's at an underwater picnic. I love that. Is that the Life's been good to me so far. Hope it's been kind to you. Is that the right one? I could be mixing it up with something else, but I like that. I want the gadgets to redirect to Dawn. That's what I want, honestly. So Dawn says, "Oh, thank you so much. If I could give my watch hours to others, I would. I don't want to be monetized just wanting the little gadgets like redirect." That's what I want. I want to be able to redirect to other channels to support them. I want to get to that point where I can do that. If my channel never gets monetized, that's kind of okay with me because it's never been like my livelihood. Um, I do other things for that, but I would like to be able to support and grow other people's messages that like already have like bigger followings and like for whom like that's their gig, like they do YouTube full time. Like I want to be able to support channels that I feel strongly about that do that. I want the widgets too. That's what I want. The redirect gadgets. That would be cool. Yep, the watch hours are golden. What am I? I'm behind on the chat, you guys, because I love talking to you guys. And I love seeing everything y'all have to say. Let's see. Oh, hi. Hi, Misha. I didn't see you come in. Good to see you. Not having the best of weeks, but I saw you were on live and had to remind you, Krista, Melinda, and chat. This world is better when you were on. Missed you. XOXO. Thank you. Thank you, Misha. That's so awesome. The world is better when you're on too. It's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. I'm sorry that you're having a rough week. Rough weeks suck. But thank you for coming to say hi. Thank you for not having your rough week all by yourself. You know? Like I feel like the roughest week is more tolerable if it's not all by yourself. Even if you're a super uber introvert, and even if you just have like one other person you can reach out to and say, "Man, this week sucks." And maybe all they do is say, "I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about it?" And maybe you don't even want to talk about it, but just having someone else to reach out to about that. I'm glad that you're here, Misha. Thanks for stopping by. Which Jason Bateman show, Wally? I lost track a little bit of the chat. I know Jason Bateman mostly from Arrested Development, um, which I is weird, quirky humor, and I find it hilarious. I miss Arrested Development, like the early seasons. We got rid of Netflix, and it was free, not free, but it was on Netflix, so I haven't watched it in a while. But I used to rewatch that show all the time. It was bizarre. It was basically a show about awful people being awful and the trouble they got into as a result. Hey, y'all, check out Mary's birthday giveaway. Some of the things she puts in it are this bacon maple coffee or the maple bacon coffee that she sent me. That's one of the things that's in her giveaway. So y'all check that link out if you want to enter it. It's delicious. And there's a lot of other yummy stuff in it too. I haven't got a chance to try it yet, but this is delicious. Caramel corn puffs. I'm really excited to try these. But I think I'm gonna wait and try those with my husband. I'm gonna attempt to share those. I might share them. I don't know. I might share them with my son, but if he likes them, like they'll all be his and we'll never see or hear from them again. So we'll see. We'll see. Oh man. Mock says Jenga was a safer game at grandma's. My younger cousin sucked at dealing with disappointment and it didn't get better over time. So Monopoly was no bueno. Monopoly has ruined more friendship. Man, Monopoly was serious business at my house with my family because, okay, the way that my father played board games, he did not care if you were 25 or 15 or 5. He was not letting you win a board game. He was gonna play full out. He didn't care, like, how little you were. He was gonna play full out, and that's how you were gonna learn how to play Monopoly really, really well. And, eh, so Monopoly, like, is based on all these, like, principles of, like, gathering properties and things like that, and that's kinda like, that's part of, like, just what he did, like, on the daily, like, in life. So, it was really an unfair match, but, yeah, our Monopoly games would go on forever, and he would always, like, clean house, and, I would always just lose spectacularly. It was fun sometimes, but yeah, we would lose spectacularly. So but I enjoyed being the banker because then I could line up all the colored pretend money very nicely and very neatly and, keep it in order and stuff. I must have missed what series we're talking about. Janet G and Wally, there's a series that gets weirder and darker as the series progresses, but I think it's probably a different. Oh, Ozarks. The Ozark series with Bateman. I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen that one, but I've heard it's good. I'll have to check that out. Catching up on the chat. Okay. Another vote for high quality show in Ozark. I have to check it out. I have to check it out. Yeah, Warren and Carol, y'all are gonna be in the same sorta neck of the woods. I mean, I know being in the same state is not necessarily close by, but I know that for sure in Texas. Like if someone's in San Antonio, that's a long ways from me. That's many hours from me. Thanks for this feedback, Mr. Bradboy. I appreciate that. Because I'm kind of just like doing what we do. So it's nice to know that it's vibing with some people. Keep it that way. We can talk about whatever without being judged and having fun. That's what I want. I want people to have a place where they don't feel judged and they feel like they can, talk about Pong or something serious if you want to talk about something serious. Oh, I can't think of a better name going to bed. I think awakened. I saw Anik said good night. If you're going to bed, can't think of a better name than good night. Thank you for coming to hang out. Thanks for being here. It's so good to see you. Got the breaks done. Good. All done. Jesse Miller says a channel with accessible therapeutic ideas is a great idea, but it may also make YouTube feel too much like your job and not for fun. Something to consider once you start seeing patients. Yeah, I had thought about that too. Um, because I do want it to, because I really kind of wanted to focus more on the connection aspect of it. You know, like I really do truly feel like peer support is the secret sauce that makes therapy work really well and really fast. Is maybe you've got your weekly therapy session, but you also need a chance to like learn this stuff and apply it like out in your life in between those sessions. And if you don't have people around you that you can talk about this stuff with and reflect things back to, and they can kind of like give you a different perspective, like that's what makes it work really, really well. Like I feel like that'll probably be a big part of my practice is recommending people find a space they can get that, whether that's an in-person support group or something online. Um, but I don't know if I need to spend all of my YouTube, like, teaching, "This is what dialectical behavior therapy is. This is what cognitive behavioral therapy is," because there's a lot of channels that do that, and they do it really, really well too. And there's a lot of therapists that they almost kinda use their YouTube as like it's another point by which to not exactly advertise their practice, but kinda it has that effect, and that's not really what I want it to be for either. I mean, if somebody finds me via YouTube and they're like, "Oh, you seem like you'd be a good fit as a therapist for me," that's fine, but that's not like I'm not trying to use it to advertise myself, if that makes any sense. Like, that's not the sole if it happens, okay, great, but that's not my reasoning behind it. Like, I had started this before I even realized I knew for sure that I was going back into practice, so this is good. Okay, good advice for me here. Misha says it's nice when it grows organically, though. I promise. So much harder when things blow up fast. Things get less personal, less feeling of connection at times, at least from my experience. Some do good, but let's see. Was there a second part there that I missed? Some do good, but have a few special friends who have their bad days with me. Thank God would be way bad if not. Okay. Yeah, I could see where so there's like 16 of y'all in here now, and I think like the most people I've ever had in a live chat before is like 21. I think that's and even at that, like I felt like I was like missing things. Like I felt like someone could have been like saying something really intense about something that happened in their life and I would have missed it. And that's just at 21. So like I see some of, the channels like the Lifeboat and like Relatable Reese that will have like 100 plus, 500 plus people in those chats. And it's just like, wow, like how, like how, that's all I have to say is how. I think I would find that overwhelming. But I love those channels too, because they're like how I found you guys and how I found like smaller channels, like needing a meeting where I can, where I could like connect a little bit more personally as well. So, I don't know if I could manage a channel that big though. I actually don't think that I could. I don't think I would be great at it. I think I would get really in the weeds in the comments and feel really bad about missing stuff. Um, but that's just me. Some people can do it. Like some people can do it really, really well and like speed through those comments and like not miss a thing. But um I tend to be a little bit of a slower processor when it comes to things people are saying. Like I want to really like dig into it. It's hard for me to move through that stuff quickly. Ugh, $350 for breaks. That's no fun. No fun. Oh, I love this, Mist. Mist says, I want to be monetized so I can tell my granddaughter that her Nana was monetized on YouTube. Not to mention if we're monetized, they were spread it out to a larger audience and we could reach more people. See, that is a reason like I might want to be monetized. Like just to spread it to more people, like just to spread a good message to more people. That would be a good reason. So I can see that. All right, Mr. Brad Boy. Have a good night. Take care. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us tonight. Speaking of second opinions, says Warren, I've had a few cases recently of different medical professionals disagreeing about my situation, such as whether or not I have a cavity. I feel like so that happens a lot with medicine, but I feel like it's particularly common in the medical community, like with the dental community specifically. Like I've heard of that happening more with dentists lately. I think, like, when they're doing the X-rays, when they're looking at your tooth, sometimes they'll see a spot on it that could be something that develops into a cavity, like I've had but is not there yet, and depending on what dentist you see, they might think, "Oh, that's progressed enough, we need to do something about it." Another dentist might say, "Oh, that's we can just watch that and wait for now." Like, I had my first ever filling for a cavity, like, last year, but there were, like, several appointments where they were like, "Well, there's a little spot here, but it doesn't look big enough to go to the, go to the extreme of drilling?" So I could see the disagreement, and it's difficult to decide what to do. You're right, 7th. The only game that has caused more fights is Risk than Monopoly. Risk is longer, but fun. I haven't played Risk in years though. Like it's been like little kid at home, it's hard to like set up a lengthier game like that. I mean, you have to start and stop a lot. But we're gonna try to get him more involved in board games lately. Janet. You mean dental, not medical, because I can assure you, you have a body cavity. Oh, Monopoly was outlawed in Misha's family. Christina was the best, most unselfish, caring child. Unless someone tried to bring up that game. Nope, she meant serious business. I love that. I love that. Fierce in Monopoly. Lovely and kind in life. Fierce in Monopoly. It's a good. Oh, Scrabble, Anik. That's funny you bring up Scrabble. That's another one that my dad like trounced us in. Like he played Scrabble with me and my mother and my brother, and he beat us all. And then we were like, "Oh, you wanna play again?" And he's like, "No, I won. I'm not playing again." Like, I want the last time I played to have been that I won. I thought that was funny. Oh, Warren says, "I also had dermatologists disagree between mole and dermatofibroma. And in the past, I was wrongly diagnosed with a peanut allergy." That's pretty extreme. Like I thought a peanut allergy you could like determine from like you could do a scratch test. Like you could do an allergy test to figure that out. That seems like an odd thing to have different opinions on. Oh, this is interesting. Mocked says the German thing is not to let children past a certain age win. So we didn't let him win, and he lacked impulse control. Worst winner when he won every once in a while, though. Yeah, I don't know. Like, so my like back in my family, like my great grandfather came to the United States from Germany, and that's on my dad's side. So maybe there's like something like maybe that's like part of that's what he was raised with. I don't think his dad let them win at games either. So maybe that's I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe that's where it comes from. Who knows? Who knows? Oh, still gotta climb stairs. That's a bummer. Can't think of a better name. Although now I'm so behind in the chat. By now you probably caught up. Warren says, Krista Melinda, I don't know what other therapy related channels you're familiar with. I'm sure there are quite a few. Well, they're nothing like mine. They're like way better produced. They're like way better edited. They're way more formal and they don't necessarily do like live chats much. You're more likely to see them do like live premieres of videos where the video is pre-recorded but you can like chat about it live for the first time that it goes up. Um, the first one that pops into my head is one called Dine In Psychology. She's kind of fun. There's Dr. Todd Grande. He's funny because he has like a really dry like delivery. But he explores a lot of like examples of like narcissism and psychopathy and stuff like that. But he has this really dry delivery that's kind of fun too. And I recently started following this other creator who's a psychologist. who I really like, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think he's really good. And so I feel bad that I don't remember his name. Let's see if I can find it off the top of my head here. It is I'll have to share it with you guys later. Oh, Dr. Scott Ehlers. I've been enjoying his work lately. Actually, I might drop that in the chat. He has a lot of subscribers. He has like 212,000 subscribers though. Um, so yeah, they have like they're really well produced and they share good information too. So I mean, I just don't know if I could get into that level of editing, at least not the way my life is presently structured. You know, I would have to put a different kind of time into it. And I don't quite have, like, I have a Chromebook. Like, I don't have an awesome setup for editing, is the thing as well. So I'd have to put time into figuring that out. Or maybe they hire people. I don't know. I guess that's possible. I'm going to put that one in the chat though, because he gives good information. And I like creators like the psychology or therapy related channels. I like the ones that are also transparent about their own experiences that will talk about like this is why I got into this field in the first place. Here's like my personal struggles, and they'll be open and honest about that. I Those are some of my favorite therapy related channels. So that's why I like this guy. And then there's another one I really like too. Oh gosh, what was his name? I'll think of it. I'll share it later when I think of it. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. And then if you're a licensed person and you do videos like that talk about therapeutic concepts, you also have to be really careful to make it clear that you're not like giving out therapeutic advice because you could get in trouble for ethics boards and stuff like that. I'm glad that you guys like the vibe of this channel. I don't want to change that. I like this. Yeah, Misha, I agree. I like that Needing a Meeting has been able to grow as it grows, like kind of organically. Yeah. I'm sure it'll be much easier because the chat grows to help support as you grow. Works great that way. Yeah, yeah. The people that come tend to kind of like they support it as well, and what I don't see in the chat, maybe y'all see and y'all support one another. So that's kind of too cool too. This is an awesome goal, Mary. Mary says the reasons that I want to be monetized is to be able to raise funds for my husband to get his diabetic service dog, but I also want to help people in the process. Mary's been awesome, like about like Mary's made thumbnails for me and like given me like tips about like how to like grow your channel and how to make connections with other small creators. Like she's a person I can think of who's like really jumping into it and trying to figure out how to make it work, how to make the YouTube thing work. And I really admire that. 'Cause it's not super it's not easy, like, it's tricky. It's like anything, you have to learn it. Oh, wow. The doctor who thought you had a peanut allergy just assumed because you had a rash. That's pretty lazy. That's pretty lazy. They didn't even do an allergy test. Yeah, that's lame. Mm. This is a good point. This is an interesting point, actually. Seventh Son says when doctors have to pay for their education, we will always get procedures we don't need. I think there's something to that. Like that could happen because a lot of the time, you go to med school for a certain amount of time, you have to take out student loans to do that. And then once you start working, you have to pay back all those student loans. And sometimes that's quite a lot. I guess it depends on how the doctor is getting paid, though. Like, like the way that you get paid as a doctor is very different like in private practice than say like as a surgeon. Like a surgeon is going to have like specific fees and things. Everybody's going to have to deal with insurance to some degree or another. um but I think you make a good point. Some like I have had like doctors personally that were very conservative about any kind of intervention. Like they were less likely to recommend. Like they would more likely to say like, "Let's watch and wait on this." rather than drill a cavity right away. And I kind of like that, but you also like to be able to catch something before it gets bad too. All right, Miss Dragon, have a good sleep. Got a grocery shop tomorrow. Want to go down a rabbit hole and look into the American Medical Association, how it began as a union. It didn't look out for your health, but for doctor profits. That's interesting. That's a rabbit hole. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole to jump down. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see. Let's see. Did I accidentally just share my own video? I didn't mean to. That's what I did. If I did that. Kristen, what do you think of Jordan Peterson? I think he's very interesting. I think he's a smart person who makes a lot of good points, who's a lot more nuanced than I originally thought. Um, so I don't agree with him 100% on every single thing he says. There are very few people that I agree with 100% on every single thing they say. But I can appreciate the logic behind most of what he says. And I think that he shares a lot of concepts that are very like helpful and very applicable in day-to-day life. Um, particularly a lot of his motivational speeches around like, finding what you're meant to do and, finding what your purpose is. I find a lot of that really inspiring. And it's interesting, like my whole journey in, there because like a year ago, I I just assumed he was a jerk, quite frankly. I didn't give him a second glance or a second thought because, I the part of the internet I hung out on was just like, "Oh, he's mean. Like, he's mean to LGBTQ people," and I'm very LGBTQ affirming, and so I thought, "Oh, well, if that's his deal, then I'm not even gonna look there." But his views are actually a lot more nuanced than that. Like, he's not just like, there's more to it. And I don't agree with like I said, I don't agree with him 100% on every single thing, but he's a psychologist and he has that background of doing therapy, and he has a lot of like he makes me think. And, like, at the end of the day, that is an extremely valuable thing. Like, if there's a person who can make me think and see things from a different perspective, um, I find that incredibly valuable. And a lot of the concepts he speaks about, like, have, like, helped me in my day-to-day life too. So, that's my general opinion. And probably if I learn more, I may change my opinion, but that's where I am right now. Oh, yeah, I accidentally shared a link to my channel instead of the person I wanted to. I'll share the real one in a second. Are you familiar with Psychology with Dr. Anna? Young, but seems to know what she's talking about. I haven't watched Psychology with Dr. Anna, but I'll check it out. That sounds good. Yeah. Jesse says that's what would scare me, the wording and disclaimers, not therapeutic advice, etc. Like even on this channel now, like in my channel description, like I have this whole section that says like this is not a substitute for a therapeutic relationship. If you're in crisis, call this number XYZ. There's all kinds of stuff that you have to think about. Glad Carol didn't get discouraged as I was the one in some of the earlier videos. I'm glad Carol didn't get discouraged either because I think that was like back when I first, I guess like in late November, like back when I first found the lifeboat, that was how I found needing a meeting. Like was that it was shared there. And so I started going there like, quite often and I kind of just lurked for a while. I was just in the chat. And then there was one day I was like ripping off the band-aid and I hopped on camera. And I think that was the first time I hopped on camera anywhere um on YouTube in like over a decade. And certainly, in this community too. And it was kind of because it was a smaller, more intimate setting that I felt comfortable doing that. So I'm glad she didn't get discouraged too. Hey, Fabric Studio, good to see you. Thanks for coming to hang out. I was thinking about wrapping it up since we've been here over an hour. But when you think about doing that, then new people hop on. Yes, I have watched Genetically Modified Skeptic. I I know he's done critiques of Jordan Peterson, but I haven't watched them all the way through. But yeah, I definitely will. Um, Actually, I used to hang out on a channel that did, like, a really lengthy critique of Jordan Peterson. I didn't see the whole critique, um, but, like, I can appreciate that perspective as well. Exactly, exactly, Misha. I cannot stand being around people who only think like me. The only way to learn is to surround ourselves with many different types of people. If you want to add to someone's view, you can't by force. Anyways, maybe our own views are skewed. No other way to know. Yeah, exactly. Like, as long as somebody remains, reasonably respectful to me, I would rather keep having a discussion and a discourse with someone, even if they think completely on the opposite side of everything from me, because I'd like to learn why they feel that way. And if I really do feel like their side of it is like dangerous to have, then what am I going to accomplish by like never talking to them? Like and people aren't gonna change their minds by someone being a jerk to them and yelling at them and shaking at their finger and telling them they're wrong either. Like, nobody likes to be talked down to. You're not gonna change anyone's heart and mind by, you know, being condescending either. I think we've kind of, to some degree, like, we've lost the ability to be respectful of one another, even in our disagreement. And I think that's really important because that's how people come to understandings. That's how communities work, is that you maybe don't always see eye to eye, but you find a place to meet, and if we're not even speaking to one another because this guy voted for that guy, then it breaks that whole thing down. So, okay, good, Jesse. You saw the disclaimer. Yeah. I look at all about sections when I find a new creator. I do too. And I've struggled with how to describe my channel since it's kind of everything, but I knew I would need to do the disclaimer. This is interesting. Jordan Peterson is considered milk toast in truly edgy circles. His views are reasonable by modern day standards. Um, I don't care for him personally, though. I see him as expediency seeking to a fault. I can appreciate that. I didn't know he was considered milk toast in some circles, but I guess I could see why. Um, I think most of what he says is pretty reasonable, but that surprised me when I first started like listening to like full talks in context from him. I didn't expect to feel that way. I was like, well, I'll listen to this and I'll see what I think, but I'm probably going to think it's bunk. But then I listened and I was like, oh, it's not all. Like there's actually some good stuff here. It's just interesting. It's an interesting journey for me. Jazz hands. Oh, I have to go to the early stuff on that channel then. I have to see the jazz hands. The jazz hands. I haven't seen the jazz hands. This is the actual link. Thank you, Misha. This is the Dr. Scott Ehlers link. I really appreciate his like sharing his knowledge both of therapeutic concepts and also his personal experience. I feel like he balances that really, really well. I'm not sure about this, Warren. I'll have to look at it. Didn't Jordan Peterson's rise to fame come from lying about what Canada's Bill C-16 would do? My understanding is that the bill just added gender identity as a protected class, but he said that people would be jailed for using the wrong pronouns. Feel free to fact check any of that. I could be mistaken. I don't know because I don't live in Canada, but that's something, yeah, I'll look into that. Um, I mean, knowing him, he maybe was using hyperbole, um, to kinda talk about the slippery slope of what could happen, if you're adding that to the law. Like, I'm just guessing, though. I'd have to read it to see what actually happened. Thank you, Mary. I should probably go ahead and mention this now that I'm almost caught up with the channel. So I'm starting a new job next week where I actually have to, so I've been working from home. So that kind of gives me a bit of a flexibility. I don't have a commute, right? But starting next week, like I'll be getting in my car, like driving to a job, like a real person again. So I know, like, at least next week for sure, I'm gonna be exhausted. Like, it's gonna be an adjustment period for me. So I'm probably like, I'm not gonna be able to maintain the streaming every single night, much as I would like to. I love doing this. But I need to be realistic also. Like, I need to make sure that I'm getting enough sleep and I'm setting enough time aside for my kiddo and my husband too. Um, so I'm gonna change up, like, how often I do live streams. Right now, I'm planning to do Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and Friday nights, I think. So it'll probably be those 3 just because of, like, when you know there's one day where I have a late day, so I can maybe sleep in a little bit, and there's, there's but I wanna be and I may do pop-up lives here and there, especially knowing that they won't have my schedule totally, like, packed out at first. Um, but I wanna keep doing the live streams, but I won't be able to keep doing them every single night, much as I love them. And part of that is just because y'all know I have a little kid right now who has a lot of needs, and so a lot of what I do is when he's otherwise taken care of or in bed, so that's part of it too. But I'll have to get up a little earlier because 'cause I'll have to actually, like, go drive someplace. But I was thinking, like, there are gonna be big gaps in my schedule at first, so y'all may see some, like, pop-up lives during these first few weeks before my schedule gets packed out. Um, but as far as, like, the regular nightly ones, I'm probably gonna drop to, like, 3 a week, maybe 4. It'll probably be I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. That's probably what it's gonna be. I would like to someday make them earlier because I know a lot of people, like, don't or can't stay as often because they're so late. We're not there yet, though, but I'd like to eventually. Thank you, Misha. I appreciate this. Oh, you remember this? You remember that, Misha? You remember Oh, my walls were yellow. Well, they weren't technically yellow. It was the lighting in there. They're like, that was in my bedroom. That was, I was kinda, like, I don't know, I was kind of, like, scatterbrained that day, and I just felt like, I just need to get on and, like, connect with some people. Like, we had just got back from, like, running around the library with my son, and my son was, like, all over the place. It was fun for him, but kinda stressful for mama, and I was like, "I just need a minute, like, I just need to go be, like, an adult person connecting to other adult persons." So I was on my bed in my bedroom with my Chromebook, like, stacked up on top of some books. But everyone was so nice. I was super nervous, but everyone was so kind and welcoming. And so I always remember that. I always think of that fondly. Thank you for this, Misha. I really appreciate that very much. That means so much to me. Thanks, can't think of a better name. We'll go easy on you while you transition. The new job sounds like a great thing for you, though. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to do what I went to school to do. Thanks, Jesse. I appreciate that too. Oh, Wally, thank you for this. I don't know how you parents do it. I can barely take care of myself. Sometimes I feel like I can barely take care of myself as well. Um, I think the answer is you just kind of do what you have to do. Like, it's like anything. Like, sometimes you get, y- you just kind of at least that's been my experience. Like, I just kind of do what I have to do to get him, like, fed and clothed and, keep him alive. And very important to me to get him to survive to age 18. That's extremely important to me. Because he does tend to run off sometimes. He will run off into traffic if I let him, so safety is an important thing. Alright, good night, Misha. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. Thank you for the support. Thank you for all your kind words. I always love seeing you here. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're great. You're awesome. Wally parenting 24/7 on steroids. That's what I've heard. I love that. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Mary made sure that I remembered that. Mary and I have talks, and she, like, very lovingly does the, like, big sister thing, like, "Hey, like, you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta make sure you have some time for your husband as well, like, he probably misses you." So and you guys, Mary said that, she might step in and do like a late if you're missing like the late night live chat, then she might, get a wild hair and do those once in a while too. So that'll be nice. So, and if she decides to do that, then I'll share her link on those nights she's doing that also. I know that was fun. Actually kind of glad at this point I didn't end up with kids. It's so I have the one and he has some additional needs that not all kids have. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I love him. He's like, in a lot of ways, like, he kinda saved me because there's a lot of, like, self-improvement and things I did that I committed to doing and getting better at that I don't know if I would have committed to just for me. Like, for me, I had to have, like, an outside reason to take better care of myself, and, like, he was a very immediate, very tangible reason was, like, because your spouse, it's kinda like, I'm committed to being a good person for him, but he's also an adult, so it's a different kinda thing. Um, with a child, it's like, they're this helpless person that, like, depends on me totally, so I've gotta show up one way or another, and I've gotta figure out how to be able to show up for him. Um, so in a lot of ways, he saved my life, but also, he's a handful, and also, it can be overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie to you. Um so I it is a complete and total lifestyle change to have a child. It is complete and total lifestyle change. So I totally support people whatever decision they make about it. Like if people decide that they don't want children, I totally support that because it's a huge deal. It's a huge responsibility. And you know, it's hard, it's rewarding. It's extremely rewarding, but it's hard too. And, I just whatever decisions people make about families and starting them and or not starting them or whatever shape they might take, I just look at everybody with love and knowing that it's never an easy decision for anybody. And it's a choice that affects your whole life too. So I hope that makes sense. Wally says I'm at that age where I have to make up my mind on that, but it's a terrifying thought. Parenting should be paid work. That would be nice, right? It sure would be. Energy says, "My take on having versus not having children. Those I know without children have had opportunities that would be difficult with kids. Those who have kids get to experience life with kids. It's just different." Yeah, exactly. I don't think of one life experience as better necessarily. It's just different. And I think what we forget sometimes too is just because you don't have your own children or doesn't mean that you don't support the growth and development of children in some way. Like a lot of people are aunts and uncles, and that's an important role that you could play in a kid's life, even if you decide never to have your own kids or, you decide never to adopt or anything like that. You can still make a difference in the next generation's lives in a big way, even if you decide never to have your own. And I don't think that that's anything to sneeze at or discount. That's important as well. Those are important roles in a child's life. Those can be very supportive family members or people to have around them. And I mean, and even then, even if you don't wanna interact with kids at all, even just going out in the world and being an example of a decent human being, that affects kids in a positive way. It may seem small, but that's one of those things that I think has major lasting ripple effects, that if you're a decent human being and you go out and you model that, kids are gonna see that, and that's important too, even if you're not directly interacting with them. "Hey, Maya!" I overslept today. Hey, y'all. Well, we're undersleeping. We're staying up. I know you're in a different part of the world, but I'm glad that you're here. It's good to see you. Gotcha. Can't think of a better name. So when I was at that age, I ended up saying, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I found comfort in leaving it up to what life throws at me. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that if it's truly something that you want and you want it, like you wanna have children, then you gotta be purposeful about how you make it happen and make sure that if you want to have a partner with those children, that it's someone that you feel like you can parent with. Because parenting with someone is a whole different ballgame than just being in a relationship with somebody. Um, it sets it's a whole different dynamic, you know? You're suddenly you're co-managing things as well. It adds a whole different level of things, and it's a different kind of compatibility than just being able to be in a relationship with somebody. You also have to be able to manage someone else's life with this person. It's a different level of communication for sure. And then if it doesn't work out with that person and you split up with them, you're always gonna be parents together. So, it's one of those things, it's like, choose the person that you are parents with wisely, if you can, if at all possible. Sometimes things happen, you can't, but well, that got heavy and exciting today. Like, I love having my child, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I always thought I would have 2, but I don't know. I don't know now. Maybe, but, I'm not, you know, if he's the only child I have, he's awesome, and that's great. Um, I wanna make sure that I'm doing right by the little person that's already here, before I add more to it. Well, guys, we've been hanging out for an hour and 40 minutes, an hour and 41 minutes. So I'm sorry, Maya, you just got here, but I think I'm gonna wrap it up because honestly, I'm getting a little sleepy. And it's been a day. Yeah, I haven't seen Mon. Is Mon around? Let me see if I got a message from her recently. Let's see. Because usually she messages me. I got a message from her on Thursday. I'll have to just say hey and see how she's doing. Yesterday, she sent me some future pictures, but my internet was so spotty I didn't get a chance to share them. So these are the future pictures. Oh no, the brightness is too bright. These are the future pictures from yesterday. They have these like really fluffy clouds. She said they are clouds that look like candy floss. I love that. They're just kind of like fluffy like that. But that's from yesterday. So I'll check in with her and see how she's doing. If y'all haven't heard from her. Oh, that's an interesting concept. Warren says, how would you guys feel about splitting custody among more than two people? Seems like it would allow you to get more sleep. So I guess that would mean you either have, like, someone babysitting all the time or you have, like, another partner, like, in a polyamory kinda situation. Um, I don't know. I think that as far as, like, the being in a relationship part, it's complicated enough to communicate with the one person you're in a relationship with. I don't know, for me, it might be a little too complicated to then negotiate that amongst 3 people all the time, but, I mean that basically happens, like splitting custody among more than 2 people, that basically happens, like, if a couple splits up and then one person, like, gets a new person, that's basically what happens is then you have 3 people who are involved in the parenting of that kiddo. Um, I think that can work if it's, done with love and understanding and responsibility and no one is, like, bad mouthing the other parent while the kid's around. That's one of the things that I feel like people need to watch out for is like when a couple splits up and they share children, they should be careful not to like you're going to need to vent about the person. Sure, that's human, that's fine, but they should be careful not to say nasty things about the other in front of the child because the child it's like they're both my parents. Like it puts them in a position that is really difficult because they still feel the same way about both of their parents, and they didn't get a choice in how they split up. Yeah, it's kind of a difficult thing to answer in a chat comment, right? Yeah, I think I'm headed to bed. I think I'm following right after you, Jesse Miller. Jesse says, "Take care, all sleep well, headed to bed. Have a good day," to all those starting their day. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do the same thing here in a second. Oh, I don't know about this, man. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if the state didn't fill that role of parenting in the near future. That's upsetting to think about. That seems like that could be a whole live. That could be a whole video, actually. That could be a whole video. All right. Thanks for understanding my yeah, this was my first reaction to no, no, no. Yeah. I mean, the way that it's currently set up is like it's difficult to support a family and a child if both parents don't work. Um, so that forces you into the situation where you've got to figure out childcare because you're both working full time. So you either like if you're lucky, maybe you have family who can step in and help take care of your child, but a lot of people don't have that, or their parents can't, are too elderly and can't keep up with a kiddo. So, so I had the opportunity. I got to take a pretty long maternity leave. I had 3 months off, but then when we both went back to work full time, which is what we needed to do to support us all, we did have to use daycare, and it wasn't like state, but it was a different group, and we found one that we liked, that we trusted, and that did a good job taking care of him, but um still, it's, like, economically really difficult for one parent to stay home and raise the kids now. Um, I mean, I would have liked at least for, like, the first year of his life, that would have been great. One of us could have done that, but it just wasn't economically possible, you know? Oh, the live that's all about that, make it happen. I mean, we might alienate a couple people, but it might be worth it. Like, it's an important topic. I mean, if people could be respectful, I would do it. I will say I like the idea of biological parents being held to the same qualifications as foster parents. Yeah. Yeah, they make foster parents take parenting classes before you can accept foster children. So I don't see why they wouldn't have new parents who are expecting do stuff like that. It's not a huge imposition, it's not like you're asking them to go back to college for a degree. Oh, thanks, Warren. I'm sure all of you would meet those qualifications just fine, but maybe some of your parents might not. I mean, that's possible. Yes, exactly. I have wondered this, Wally. You could almost wonder if that's by design, the effort to make it impossible to spend the ideal amount of time with your kid. Yeah, yeah, it's really frustrating. I have wondered that for sure. I have definitely wondered that. What I saw, a lot of the women that worked in daycares, and I say women because it was almost exclusively women that worked in the daycares near me. They had their own children in daycare, and it was like they couldn't afford to stay home with their children, so they had to work, and that was a job they could do that allowed them to, like, be in the vicinity of their child, but still make some money. Um, that's true. Some places have state-funded daycare. Here, kids have the right to get daycare. Mary says, "That was one thing I watched my daughter." I was one thing I watched my daughter af I watched with my daughter after my divorce. Sorry about that. Really? Seventh says, "I set up through a rent-a-grandparent through the senior center. Seniors are available when most people work." What? That's an awesome idea. I love that. I love that. There was a brief period of time, it was like it was when everything first shut down after the corona beer virus. I don't know if it matters if I say it or not. But it was when everything first shut down, but I was still required to work. I was still required to work from home, and then my husband was still required to work from home. So we were trying to figure out a way to take care of our then just shy of a year-old son, but also still do what our jobs expected of us from home. which for him was dang near impossible because he was teaching high school students, and you can imagine how much they paid attention to Zoom to Zoom classes. Um, at the time, my parents were spry enough and well enough that they could watch him, like, a couple days a week. So on those days, we did get a little bit of our work done, but it was hard. It was tricky. Y'all see I'm yawning. It means it's time for me to go to bed. But I love this rent-a-grandparent idea. I think that's so cool. And I love the idea of there being more of an opportunity for younger people to interact with, older generations. I think that's really cool. I think that's really important. Um, that's how values and stories and culture gets passed down. And if the kids don't get to interact with older generations, then they miss that. And it kind of leaves you feeling sort of adrift, like you don't know who you are and where you come from. And, you know, it kind of anchors you a little bit. Yeah. Time flies. 5 years ago. It changed the whole world though, right? Like the company that I worked for was not 100% remote back before then. Back before then, like they were still having me drive out to visit different mental health clinics and audit them in person. And then they went 100% remote. I was on Zoom all the time. Aw. Jen G says, "Well, my daughters are telling me they will never have kids, so I'll be a rent-a grandma." Oh. Well, maybe you'll be a rent-a-grandma, or maybe that will change. Like, there was a time when I wasn't sure I was gonna have any kids, but here we are. So, people grow and their ideas change. Uh, I assume you're not putting pressure on them, so that will probably, you know, allow them to come to the decision that's best for them. Yeah. I like the grandparent idea. That's a really cool idea, 7th. Alrighty, guys. I really am gonna wrap it up now. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. I feel so lucky to have this many people that show up to hang out with me and with each other in the chat and exchange ideas. And um I feel really blessed to know you guys, and I love doing these lives for that reason. So I just want to say thank you again. I know I kind of gush like that every night, but it's genuine. I really am shocked every night that I show up and there's this many people wanting to hang out. So thank you so much for being here. And y'all have a wonderful night and take care of yourselves. The world is so much better with all of you in it. And that goes for the replay crew too. I know some people watch on replay, which still kind of floors me. It goes for you too. The world's better with you in it. Thank you guys so much. Y'all take care. Have a good night or a good day if you're in that part of the world. Take care, y'all. Bye.